What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another live edition of Elevate Your Grind, live from the Benzinga Cannabis Capital Conference here in Hollywood, Florida. We have moved north of Miami. The traffic is lighter. People are happier. The hotel is roomier. It is a great experience. I'm coming out of retirement for one last interview, I think. So please welcome my guest today, Ed Keating of Cannabiz Media. Ed, thanks for joining us today.
Awesome. Thanks for having me here. And you left out the view here is pretty amazing. I mean, out the windows, it is absolutely gorgeous.
It is. It's actually a really great setup that they have here with the balconies on each side and everything else. I'm not going to miss the fountain blue at all. I don't know about you.
Yeah, you got that right.
It used to take me an hour to get to like Miami Beach and then an hour to get to the fountain blue from there because the traffic in front of it was so bad. So Benzinga guys, you did a phenomenal job. So Ed, to kind of give everybody an idea of what cannabis is, if they don't already know, which I'm sure most people, if you're in the industry, you do. Any sales job I've ever had, the number one thing they give you the login to when you get there is Zoom Info. You guys are essentially Zoom Info for cannabis.
Yeah.
You do a phenomenal job at that. So tell us a little bit about it.
That's awesome. So yeah, we started the database 10 years ago. It's our 10th anniversary, and we've been gathering license data ever since. So we started US.
Was there like a Nexus event where you're like, this industry is going to be big, we have to start documenting it? Like, because back then it was like from what I understand, the people who told me went to the first MJ BizCon, it was what everyone thought it was, a bunch of guys with long braided hair, sandals, and cargo shorts. So
yeah, well, for us, it was a couple years after the first MJ Biz. We went to the MJ Biz in 2015, which we were still figuring stuff out, but we just had a sense that there wasn't a database of record for the industry. Every industry has one, and there wasn't one for cannabis yet. So we looked around and realized that there was some data available, and we started going state by state. Back then, in my living room with my laptop, just getting data, pumping it in, and building it out. So, over time now, we've probably got like 300,000 licenses, people, companies in the database, depending on how you cut it. So we just realized that there wasn't that information, and we wanted to be the provider. So that's what sort of sparked us to go down this route a decade ago.
I imagine the importance of this just goes beyond, like, because I'm selfish and I think about how I use things like sales information or even just research information, to where, there are government agencies that leverage this and everything else. Because when it comes to a database of record for an industry, like, there's probably not an illegal skateboard distributor. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if they're a skateboard distributor, they got a website, they got an Instagram, it's a good chance they're a legitimate company. I can do business with them.
True.
With cannabis, the whole industry is plagued with somebody just looking legitimate because it costs so expensive to be. And I imagine that's the most important part where your business comes in.
Absolutely. We start with the state. That's where the data comes from. We get state licensed businesses because that is the source of truth. And it's one that we think makes sense, because let's say you're the government, I'm the license holder. It's in both of our interests.
You got a reputation here. Don't tell people I'm an agent or something.
It's in both our interest to keep that license up to date. If you're the regulator, you want to get the fees and the taxes. And if you're the license holder, it's a valuable asset. So you really want to make sure that you hold on to that. And because of that, the data is pretty good to start with. But then my research team goes and does more work to try and find social, other information, more people. We have a phone team that calls into licenses, trying to get still more. And now we're using a lot of AI tools to try and get even more data that can help you get the right contact info.
From a directory database business prior to this?
I came from sort of a professional publishing software background. So securities law, corporate law, that kind of stuff, and worked in a lot of regulated industries where you needed to know who the people were, or what was required from a regulation standpoint.
Well, the reason I asked that is because from an entrepreneurial standpoint, from a business standpoint, your business model is great because you collect. I don't want to see you collect the information once, because you're constantly collecting and updating it and everything else, but you create this database. And once you get to a certain point, you can continue to monetize it so many different ways. But because you went and did the work that nobody else is willing to do, you compiled everything and now it's available. And that's got that from a business standpoint, that's probably one of the coolest businesses that you can run, because your product is, this is our product, but we can sell it, splice it. It does so many different things. And I imagine you're the backbone for information for a lot of the folks that we see here today.
Yeah, nailed it. Absolutely. It's a subscription-based SaaS business. We love it. People, subscribe up front and they use it in lots of different ways. And many in the exhibit hall are our customers and have been for a long time, because what they've come to realize is they do not want to track 136 regulators every day, week, month, quarter, year. You just can't have the intern do that. You're not going to get good data, because even though they could go to some state website and get data once, are they going to go back again and again? And are they going to take the ones off that went out of business, add the new ones in? So it's a process that I think we've done a pretty good job of keeping on top of.
The number one thing that I imagine that you have to contend with is accuracy, because, I've been in sales for a very long time. Someone in a data company pitches me, okay, give me X, Y, and Z company because I know X, Y, and Z.
Right.
I want to make sure it's right.
Yeah.
So for you, like this isn't a very big industry. Like everyone's here, right? We all know each other. Everyone's hugging and kissing and everything. So I imagine that's a quick point of contention when people start talking to you, like, give me X, Y, and Z because I know these people. I want to make sure.
Yeah, well, in our business, we call that let's play Stump the Chump, because they know Bob has a license, but he sold it this morning, and do we have it in our database? It's the best available data.
Yeah.
We're getting better every day, and using some newer tools that are helping us monitor places like LinkedIn and others in more of a real-time fashion, so that we can see, like, oh, Ed left, get him out.
Yeah.
Move him out, or put him at his new place if we know where that is, because we want salespeople to be successful. We don't want you to get to somebody who's not there or they sold the business. So it is a game of whack-a-mole where the data changes so frequently, but it's way better for us to be gathering this data than for a big organization to have their sales team doing research and prospecting that way. It's just inefficient.
Yeah. I mean, I'd rather get a call that actually applies to, like, and this is probably terrible because I hope the person who I met, I don't know who they are, so hopefully they don't watch the show. But someone pitched me, it's on my shirt, on lights. And I'm just like, it's like, what do you do? I'm like, I run the Florida market for Connected. And he's talking to me about the cultivation team out in Sacramento and everything. And I'm like, he walked away and a buddy of mine was there. I'm like, I am so far removed from being involved in our lighting selection and our cultivation. Like, I'm responsible for P&L, sales, revenue growth. Like, I am so far removed from that decision. And this guy's like, can you just take my card?
Yeah.
So, like, obviously we're at a conference. It happens more here. But those emails and those LinkedIn messages, I would rather you be more successful. So at least someone's like, no, that's not what he does. I'm going to hit him up for this. So
right.
Like, at least it applies to what I do. Still no.
Yeah. Yeah. So the sales and marketing piece is a big one. You definitely nailed that. There are a lot of people who use us for research.
Care about what I use.
Hey, understood. So, a lot of people use it for research about the licenses, like where are they growing, where are they declining, which ones have been shut down. And in addition, we've added some other cuts to the data, like which licenses are unionized and what was the vote like? How is Cureleaf looking union-wise compared to other big companies? Which unions are winning the votes? Which ones are not? So it's a deep dive, but
do a lot of brands reach out to you when they're trying to do market expansion to kind of get that due diligence of what markets they should go into?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's great to know. I mean, we have data going back in time, like on patient counts, state sales data, if that's provided, so that, yeah, you could go get it yourself. But if we've already gotten the last 14 years of data from Colorado, you just go download it into your Excel spreadsheet, run the pivot table, and do your own analysis. You don't have to have somebody go chase that data down.
Do you happen to have the market for live resin in the state of Florida?
We have the data that the state provides from a product category standpoint. So I don't know if live resin is one of their categories.
No, it's not. All right. I was going for something I need right now.
There you go. Yeah.
I was going with something I need. And a lot of companies charge a lot of money for that data. So
I understand.
I have a podcast. I get the data for free. So as I understand it, though, you guys have gone beyond just like traditional cannabis licensing.
Yeah.
What else are you adding to the database now?
Great point. We added hemp years ago, and that's been useful. And then over time, we started to add the hemp retailers, because some states like Florida regulate that. I think in Florida, there's at least 10,000 CBD retailers that sell all sorts of interesting stuff. Beyond that, last year we started adding in unlicensed businesses when we could find them, because to your point earlier about people having websites and the barrier to entry being low, in New York, a lot of those businesses have websites, phone numbers, people. I haven't seen much LinkedIn, but there's a big footprint. So we've gathered as much of that data as we can, because when you map it out, you can see where those businesses are. And we get that from law enforcement and other places.
Crazy.
And then last, and this is the most recent addition, is we've been adding in smoke and vape licenses. really from a market research standpoint, because you can see how vast they are. I mean, the point that my colleagues have made is that Texas is now probably the largest cannabis market in the United States.
I believe it.
They have, I think 60,000 licenses of, hemp, hemp and tobacco and vape.
So I have a good friend in Texas, in Dallas. His name is Dalton O'Neill. Dalton watches this show. They have the largest community of cannabis industry folks in these groups across Texas in different cities. And they all run CBD businesses.
Yep.
But I've smoked weed. Well, they're all stoners. And I mean, corporate stoners like we all are. So I know their passion isn't CBD. So I look at this and I'm like, you guys are all just waiting for the day that it flips. They have probably the most prominent CBD industry because they all can't wait for it to be actual weed.
Well, right. Yeah. In some places they call it gas station weed. North Carolina has also a pretty robust market as well. I was at MJ Biz, met somebody who's got 6 stores with, a bunch more in the queue. So
I remember the first time someone showed me a smokable CBD joint. I'm like, what's the point of that? I'm like, put that in a cream. I'll put it on my muscles. It'll be great. Ed, man, what else? What can we see going forward this year? What do we have to look forward to?
Right now, it's really watching the markets that are coming on board. So a lot of eyes on New York.
Okay.
Also still New Jersey. Missouri just dropped some of their social equity. Maryland as well. Waiting to see what's happening in New Hampshire, where they might do it through state stores like they do liquor.
Interesting.
Different approaches. Alabama trying to figure things out. Virginia, is it ever going to come to fruition? And the bright spots beyond that are Delaware, which starts probably the beginning of next year, as well as Minnesota. Minnesota did some of their own research, the state, and said they believe they need about 850 stores to service the market.
Wow.
That's a lot. So there's a lot of markets that we're keeping an eye on, and our clients are as well.
And all you Floridians, come November, yes on 3. We have recreational on the ballot. Let's get it passed. We'll figure everything else out later. So, Ed, I appreciate you sitting down with me. Where can people find you?
Thanks. You can find us at cannabiz.media and E Keating at cannabiz.media for the email.
Awesome. Appreciate you coming by.
Thanks.
I'll see you guys next time.